Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Corner Office. Coming off a week where we just didn't record one, which is okay. We both had a busy weekend here.
I was so sick last week.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. All right, well, I'm a bad friend for not knowing that. But I was traveling this weekend to NYU. We played 2 games there, went 1-1. Solid start to our season here, especially with only 9 guys on the roster who are active. And Jack, you went and had a pretty cool weekend down in Raleigh, North Carolina. You wanna fill us in on
I had
what was going on down there?
Pretty sweet weekend. It was arguably, one of the best weekends of my life. Friday night we flew down, or Friday afternoon we flew down and got to catch a game at Cameron Indoor Stadium, which is something that I'm sure that you and I both had been thinking about trying to get to for, years since you start watching basketball. And I will say, people talk about it being small and it being old. You can't really talk about that enough. You get transported back in time there. It really only holds about
it is small,
a couple thousand people. And it is old, and it looks just like a cathedral. You walk through this, you're walking into church, basically. It is literally the birthplace of basketball. So that was pretty insane. And then after the game, we got the chance to go on the court and being down there, thinking about all the other greats that have stepped on that floor and played a game there. It was pretty incredible.
Just a quick question: Were you supposed to be on the court, or did you just kind of walk down there?
I think that's kind of a gray area. The people that we were with,
no one stopped you.
Well, I was with George's family, and they're friends with someone who plays for Army, which was the team that Duke played. And
okay,
they were speaking with the family after the game, and me and my buddy kind of just walked past the security onto the court and pretended like we were there to see someone. And then they came and joined us. So I guess we were supposed to be there, but I walked across the entire baseline, past the scorer's table. It was pretty insane. And also the place that I was sitting, I don't even know if I told you about this. I was sitting at the game.
I don't think you did.
And obviously Coach K was there. He was a West Point alum, so he makes it to most games, but he was definitely there for that one.
Yep.
And I'm sitting at the game before the tip-off, and I'm like, Where's Coach K? And I'm looking around the stadium, there's no way he's not here. And he always sits in the corner, and I check the other 3 corners, and then I look down, and he's no further than 15 yards away.
Yeah.
My buddy Braden
could have touched him if you wanted to.
Braden was like, yeah, dude, the whole game I was sitting there I wonder if I threw my phone, would it hit Coach K from here?
Brado with an elite arm toss to hit Coach K in the back of the head with his phone would be an electric way to get onto Bleacher Report.
That would really be horrible. That would be a deplorable action. In terms of just talking about the team, though,
we don't condone that.
Not at all. They look great. Duke looks amazing. Some of their transfers. Kneppel is such a good shooter. He really, every time he gets his hands on the laces, it's a bucket. It's going straight in. Obviously Cooper Flagg and the guy who played for the South Sudan national team.
Mulak.
What
is it? What is it? It's some Mulak. I think.
Don't even try. We don't need that.
I'm gonna look it up.
Good. He gets tired quick, but when he's on the floor, he's very
really?
Good. And then
I didn't know that.
He can't play more than 5 minutes straight. But then
Kaman
Mason
Malua.
Gillis, yeah, there it is.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Mason Gillis from Purdue last year was amazing. They just picked up this new guy from Tulane who is just
Sion James.
Yeah, Sion James, a bucket. So Duke looks good. And then afterwards I went to an NC State football game, and that was lesser, obviously great first football game, less memorable than going on the floor at Cameron.
Yeah, I believe it. We'll talk more about college basketball once we get deeper into the season.
Oh, dude, I didn't even tell you about this.
What?
I guess we're just chatting now on the pod this week.
Yeah, we're just riffing, but
we're just catching up. So I'm sitting in the lobby, waiting for my chance to go out on the court. Obviously, the security guards aren't just go on the court. So we're waiting for our time to go. I'm sitting there and I see this dude walk out, and I'm like, who is this guy? He's super tall. And I'm staring at him all bug-eyed, and then I'm like, oh, that's Shane Battier.
Oh,
he
really?
walks right by me, gives me one of these like a little. Hey, I'm here with my family. Stop looking at me. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Real skinny
you think
dude. I did not think he was
really,
that skinny. Yeah, real
really
skinny.
interesting. That's funny. That's funny. You think he remembers you? You think he's like, oh,
No.
that white kid from Cameron Indoor?
Oh yeah, that guy who looks just like every other guy that actually goes to this school.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna
funny.
have to fly him out for the next one.
Right. Yeah. No, you
Yeah.
should. You should.
Ryan Young.
Um,
Ryan Young was right next to me. He had on a T-shirt that was that picture of Tupac, but it was him in a Duke jersey. It's like, come on, bro, you too white to be wearing that.
I don't know. Like, what is Ryan Young doing nowadays? You know what I mean? Like,
He's just going to Duke games.
is that all he does? Like, does he have a job? You know what I mean? Like, he was also at Northwestern for 4 years. You know, like,
Yeah,
is Duke
yeah, he's
culture
old.
just that dope?
It is pretty.
Probably.
Sweet.
It might be. It might be. I wonder what he's doing for work though. I guess I'll have to figure that out later on. But yeah, I mean, fun weekend. Like I said, we'll start to do a little more college basketball when like things start to iron out and teams start to actually play each other instead of playing their like warm up schedule here. But I'm super excited. Like college basketball is super deep this year. There are so many good teams and so many good players. And as much as like last year's draft class was like kind of disappointing, I really do think that like this year's draft class is going to be like one of the best that we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah,
So this has all the makings of, being a really cool season in college basketball. And then like later down the line, you're like, oh yeah, I remember when Cooper Flag played for Duke or like something like that.
So Duke plays Kentucky tomorrow, and then
Okay.
they have at neutral ground, I think, and then they have like one warm up game, but then they go back to back with Arizona and Kansas next week. So
Yeah. So I mean, they
Duke's
play
got
it.
a legitimate
It's starting to get
games.
there. It's starting to
Yeah.
get there. But we'll get to that further down the line. And yeah, I mean, obviously, we love March Madness. It's probably made it into our one of like 8 best times of the year, that we announce on this show.
I think
living in
actually,
the moment.
I think the conference championship week unfortunately made it into best time of the year too.
Yeah, I know, dude. We are
We're a bit
we're
of a
all
loose
over the
cannon.
place with
Yeah.
best time of the year is what I would say. But yeah, we got 2 conferences to talk about here. We got the NBA and the NFL. Jack, what do you think we should start with to give a little recap? We didn't do picks this weekend just because we're so incredibly busy. But don't worry, we will be coming back Thursday with our picks. But let's just do a little recap as to what we saw this weekend, and you lead the way
I'd love
as
to
to where
talk
we want to
about
start
the
here.
I'd love to talk about the NBA, but I think that the first thing that we should talk about is just how bad the NFL is this year, especially
Yeah.
compared to past years. It's just
Yeah.
like I'm having a hard time getting super excited to watch football every week. And maybe it's because
Yeah.
I'm bad at fantasy. That could be.
That
But
could
I
be
just think that for the most part, it's just been kind of boring. It's been stale.
There has been a plethora of horrendous football teams this year. Like really, really disappointing teams. You know what I mean? Like you got multiple teams right now with 2 wins. How many
And
teams
we
with
aren't
2
even
wins do
one
we
of
have?
them. We're
I know.
not one of them.
Like the Patriots the Patriots are not the worst team in their division right now. That's a crazy stat.
Shocking.
But even with that, like you have how many teams? 5 teams with a 2-8 or worse record, and then like a bunch of teams with a 3-7 record. Like how many of these conferences are really solid? And the worst part of it is that the Chiefs are 9-0, which I think is really just like taking the wind out of my sails because everybody hates them, including myself, and they haven't been good, and they're still 9-0, and they haven't played an entertaining game of football yet. Like the only games that I've enjoyed watching thus far have been like Ravens games because they've been high scoring and fun, and I have Lamar Jackson in fantasy, and it's fun to see him score touchdowns.
I mean, you could make an argument for last night. Jared Goff throwing 5 interceptions and still winning a football game is, by the book, exciting, but it's not good football.
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like we've been in a lack of shootouts, and like you said, like it's been really stale. If you go from conference to conference, it's just the same teams that have been winning. Like the Bills are at the top of the AFC East. I think everybody saw that coming. I don't think they're that good. I really don't.
I think you can make an argument for them being the best team in the AFC.
Okay, fair enough. But then
we'll see this weekend when they play the Chiefs. But the Steelers are the 3rd best team in the AFC. That's ridiculous. I mean, come on.
Yeah. They're 7-2.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, bro. How? Like I don't understand how this is a 7-2 football team. Like I guess like Russell Wilson has looked all right for them, but like yeah, where are the games that I want to watch? You know what I mean? I mean, the only teams that I've been like super down to watch right now have been the Commanders, one,
Yeah.
because they've been fun, the Lions, the Ravens, and even the Lions played atrocious football last night and still won the game. It's just been draining. It's like watching the Chicago Bears every week. That's kind
It's
of
like
how
watching a
my
homeless
vibe
guy
is.
throw up on a wall. It's
Okay.
not fun. It's ugly.
It's definitely ugly. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely taken the wind out of my sails a little bit that the Chiefs are 9-0, and it looks like another season of like everybody preying on their downfall, and they somehow win the Super Bowl, even though they're not that good. And
Dude, they are
I'm
10-0 right now. They had a
They're
graphic
9-0.
up because
They're 9-0.
are they?
Yeah, they're 9-0.
Okay, so they're 9-0. They had a graphic up last night previewing the matchup between the Chiefs and the Bills, and the Chiefs are 9-0 and the Bills are 8-2. The Chiefs plus minus this season is plus 55. Now, if I do the math and 55 divided by 9, their average win differential is 6 points. Good teams don't have an average win differential of 6 points, especially ones that are 9-0. They might be the worst 9-0 team of all time. The Bills, 8-2, their point differential is plus 98.
Yep.
I mean, we'll see when it comes to this week, but I think that the Chiefs are, until they get Rashee Rice and Isaiah Pacheco back, on fraud watch. They remind me of that Steelers team a couple years ago.
We say that every year. Every year we say that. And then you just get your heart ripped out in February when they win the Super Bowl.
Every year they don't play close games. They are so bad against the spread. They are letting every team, like, come on, how did they win that game yesterday?
I don't know. The only games that I've been like excited to watch for the past 2 weeks have been Ravens Bengals. And there are no more Ravens Bengals games.
That was
which is too bad.
They were both
that game was awesome. That game was awesome.
They have
quickly
2 of the top 3 games of the year this season.
Yeah, let's quickly touch on Ja'Marr Chase as a proud fantasy owner in one of the leagues that I play in of Ja'Marr Chase. He had 9 points, fantasy points going into halftime, and then proceeded to drop 46 in the second half against the Ravens on, Thursday Night Football?
Mm-hmm.
Potentially the most electric performance I have ever seen from a wide receiver in my life.
Certainly,
it was awesome.
Definitely,
it was
one
awesome.
of them. I mean, he is quietly the best receiver in the NFL right now, and no one's.
I don't even think it's quiet anymore. I think he just is. I think he's surpassed Justin Jefferson.
When people think of wide receivers right now, no one's really throwing Ja'Marr in that conversation because their team sucks. Like, people are thinking of Amon-Ra, they're thinking of Jettas, right?
Yeah, but
I think
Vikings,
that he is
the Vikings
clear,
are 7-2.
I think he's the clear number 1 right now. I don't even think you can argue it, to be honest with you.
I agree. I think Joe Burrow has played well. I think he's played good football.
Joe Burrow is playing MVP level football. In terms of, from a statistical perspective, he is playing MVP football.
They just can't win a game, which is weird. But I mean, their defense didn't even look that bad in the first half against the Ravens, and then they just kind of fell apart because Lamar is good. But I don't know what is going on with the Bengals this year. I think like we've just kind of said that they're mid, but they just can't seem to win a football game. Regardless of the fact that, Ja'Marr and Joe Burrow are kind of like wasting their careers right now on a losing team.
Yeah. I mean, they've got some work to do this offseason.
For sure.
I think the loss of Mixon was huge. He has been one of the best running backs in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, he's looked good. But like again, are the Texans a good football team right now? I don't know.
They're pretty banged up. They're pretty hurt.
I have no idea. Like you let up 19 unanswered points last night to the
you had
Detroit
5
Lions,
interceptions and you didn't win a
5
football
interceptions,
game.
You didn't win a game? Like, that's insane to me. It's insane to me. How do you not win that game?
I don't know.
Another team that I'm like confused about, like, is the Arizona Cardinals a good team? Are the Chargers a good team?
Good. Arizona Cardinals look good beating the Jets the other night.
Like, are the Falcons a good team? They're going to win the NFC South.
Falcons are 3rd in the NFC right now. I think they're a good team. Actually, I think they're a good football team.
Okay, they're fun. I like Kirk O'Chain, so I kind of pull for him. But they just
I think
lost to the
they've
Saints.
They've been one of my favorite teams to watch in the NFL. Yeah, it was a bad game.
Yeah.
The AFC or the NFC South has the Falcons, who are in third, the Bucks, Saints, and Panthers, who are in 12th, 14th, and 15th, respectively.
Horrendous stuff. It's been ugly. I mean, that's the only real way that I can like talk about the NFL right now. Is it's just been so gross to watch. And I mean, I have Red Zone on in the room every week, and I will continue to have Red Zone on in the room every week. But it's not getting any easier to watch the Chiefs win football games by 6 points against teams that they're supposed to beat by 30, and then
have the easiest schedule in the NFL,
and Roger Goodell is like, oh, like eat this, like keep watching this.
Here,
and I'm like, yes,
Raiders,
Roger, I will.
Raiders
keep
at 1
watching
o'clock
this.
on a Sunday in Las Vegas. Boom. Here you go. Chargers 4:05. Bang. Panthers London game. Boom.
Jacksonville Jaguars. So I mean, it hasn't been fun. What I will say is I want to talk about a team that, you and I were kind of like on the fence about going in. You were all on the hype train. And just to switch it up, they just lost to the Patriots last weekend, 19-3. Talk to me about the Chicago Bears, a team that kind of came into this season.
I'm so off the hype train.
Okay. All right. A team that kind of came into the season with some strange expectations. I don't think they really had any. But like you obviously get the number 1 overall draft pick, and now you're letting them get sacked 9 times to a bottom 10 defense in the NFL. Like, what is happening in Chicago right now?
Well, I did have a full-on crash out last week about the Chicago Bears, and I do apologize to all the listeners for that. With that being said, they are the least fun team in the NFL to watch, which is saying a lot, because there is some really bad teams. List of teams that I'd rather watch over them: the Saints, the Panthers, the New York Jets, the Cleveland Browns, but only when James is quarterback, the Seattle Seahawks.
Yep.
Like, the list goes
Giants.
on. I would definitely not say that. But I mean, this Bears team is supposed to be so much fun. If obviously DeAndre Swift has been fantastic the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
If
He's been the only bright spot,
if I'm the Bears coach, why does DJ Moore not touch the ball?
Why does he still have a job?
Why does DJ Moore not touch the ball every possession? Why does he not get 3 targets a drive? He's one of the arguably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL when he's getting the ball thrown to him. And he just
why does Matt Eberflus still have a job? Like, I don't understand why we're doing the whole firing thing and we have coaches who just can't coach. You know what I mean? Like, that you've now proven for 2 straight seasons that you don't know how to coach football. Like,
just go get Robert Saleh.
Do something to shore up at least one side of the ball, right? Like, if your defense is sound and you want to go get a defensive head coach, Robert Saleh is out there. You can go get him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think the culture in Chicago is becoming a bit of a mess, and I'm not going to keep watching Chicago Bears football.
I do,
which
love
is too
watching
bad.
DeAndre Swift plays football hard. I love watching him play.
He is a football guy. Big football guy, for sure. And we love a good football guy. Like that's
he's a big crash
been a
out
thing
guy
on the
too,
show for a while.
It's always fun to watch.
Talk about another team that's kind of just crashed and burned this year. The Dallas Cowboys are sitting at 3-6. They have Cooper Rush behind center right now with Trey Lance on the bench and Dak Prescott out with an injury. When does CeeDee Lamb get traded? What, is he out for the season? I don't know.
I think so.
It doesn't matter. They're not coming back in the AFC in the NFC East. Like, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, this season is a wash now. I think that Mike McCarthy won't have a job by the end of the season.
I mean, we're talking about coaches who still have jobs. Why does Mike McCarthy still have a job?
Yeah, it's true. It's a good question. It's a fantastic question. But like, I just don't understand how a team with so much firepower, despite the fact that they have battled a lot of injuries, you know, Micah Parsons has been out for a bit, like their defense is banged up right now, but like a team with so much offensive firepower that was supposed to be a Super Bowl contender, I feel like coming into the season.
Do they have so much offensive firepower,
Dude,
or do they just have CeeDee Lamb?
They have CeeDee Lamb. Jake Ferguson is a top 10 tight end, I think,
Sure.
receiving tight end.
Sure.
Dalvin Cook was supposed to be, a pretty good player for them.
He
He's got very limited touches. I know, but yeah.
See, he's a guy that if he's good, you're pleased, but you can't expect him to be great.
Right, but last year
their starting running back is Rico Dowdle.
Right,
they have Jalen Tolbert as their wide receiver too. I just think this Cowboys team's bad, to be honest with you. I think Michael Parsons is gone.
Okay.
I think CeeDee Lamb either gets a bag or he is gone.
Well, he already got paid though, right?
Did he? I thought they had to redo his contract. All right, then he won't leave. He's tied.
Yeah, he got paid.
I don't think he'll leave.
He signed a 4-year in August. He's either getting traded or he's going to stay there. You know what I mean? So
no, that is how
that is kind of how that works. That is how that works. But yeah, they've been bad too, and that's another team that again every year they come in with some sort of expectation, and I don't know when the last time they exceeded that was. But this 92? Team from
Michael Irvin.
This team from week 1 to now, time. Yeah, no, seriously, they're just not the same team. Another team that's bad at football that is winning games is the Philadelphia Eagles, in my opinion. I don't think they're that good. They keep winning games.
Their defense is barbecue chicken.
So bad. So incredibly bad.
So bad.
And I don't think Jalen Hurts has played very well.
I
just think that Saquon Barkley is just nasty, which is, fair. He's a good running back. He can, make some plays here and there.
If you're an Eagles fan,
how
confident are you in beating, Atlanta in the playoffs?
Yeah, right. No, seriously. Or the wild card, whoever that's going to be.
Hopefully Kirk would fry that offense.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, that defense. He'd fry that defense.
I agree. So I mean, they're in an interesting spot too. But yeah, I think it's all coming back to your take of just being super depressed that this NFL season hasn't gone the way that I wanted it to. In terms of entertainment value.
Pittsburgh Steelers are good, and they're not even fun anymore now that Justin Fields isn't playing. Russell Wilson is still corny. He hit the worst celly of all time. Mike Tomlin's got aviators on.
No, hold on.
It's been dark for 3 hours. I know the stadium lights ain't that bright, Mike. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he wrote in the Google Doc that Russell Wilson is the corniest dude in the NFL. I'd like to know what did he do? I mean, I didn't see the celebration. That being said, if we talk about crash out people in the NFL, you have to have George Pickens out there.
Oh yeah, yeah,
which is pretty fun to watch.
He's Mr. Crash.
Did you see the play this week? Yeah.
So Russell Wilson threw a pick, and instead of going for the guy who intercepted the ball, he just suplexed his defender.
He just the camera pans to the guy running away, and and behind him you just see George Pickens just throw a guy to the ground who was not even in the play. But yeah. No, hit me with this Russell Wilson hate real quick, because I mean you've wanted to get this off your chest for a bit now.
I'm trying to find the video. After they won, the play came down to one of the defenders for the Commanders jumping offside.
Okay.
And it was a play where they were clearly going to try and get them to jump, and then they jumped, right? And Russell Wilson just hit a corny little dance where he just went like this. It was,
and that just made you hate him.
Hold on, talk for a bit. Let me find this video.
All right. No, I look. Ever since Broncos country, let's ride. I can't really defend the man anymore. I mean, obviously he went to 2 Super Bowls in Seattle, but that was a long time ago. And I do think that he has been a better quarterback for the Steelers than Justin Fields has. All right, we found the video. I can't really see it. Oh yeah, all right, that's bad. Why does it say aura on there?
I don't know.
That's my number one question.
That's the first thing I saw this morning. I was actually heated.
But yeah, the Steelers just played ugly football, and I think, if I'm not mistaken. No, never mind. I'm mistaken. All right, I was gonna say, I think if I'm not mistaken, Mike Tomlin has already reached his 500 mark, but he's not quite there yet. He needs 2 more wins to get the inevitable Mike Tomlin ball over the goalposts here. But yeah, they don't play fun football, and it's really hard to watch sometimes. And it's life is worse when the Steelers are in the playoffs. I hate to say it, but I think life is better when the Cowboys are in the playoffs.
Yeah, because we can hate watch.
Yeah, we can hate all the time. Now, like the only team I'm hate watching is a team that's 9-0, and I'm like, damn. Every time, like I think Bo Nix is gonna pull out a victory against the
He was doing so well too.
and then boom, heartbreaker. They lose 16-14.
How many times this year have the Chiefs scored over 25 points?
That's a good question. You want an over under here?
Yeah.
All right, I will give you over under 2.5 times.
I'm gonna take the over on no.
One.
No, I'm gonna take the under on 2.5. I'm gonna fade 2.5 for sure. Should we change it to 20? 20 points, like
right,
over under 20 points.
I'm now looking at it. I'm gonna give you an over under of 4.5 times just to make it fun.
Over 20 points.
Yep. Over 20 points, bro. They've been over 20 points like every time this year.
All right, I'm fading 4.5.
All right. So they've been over. They had 27 against the Ravens, 26 against the Bengals, 26 against the Saints, damn. 27 against the Chiefs, against the Raiders, 28 against the 49ers, and 30 against the Bucks, which is 6 times.
Yeah, it's rough.
But that being said, they were all over that 25 mark. Like they're right there every week.
I mean, that's barely
yeah, right, scraping by. But yeah, look, the only thing that is keeping me happy about this NFL season is the fact that I get to watch the NBA after these games are over. And, hallelujah, thank God that basketball is back because I have missed it dearly. Yeah. Done miracles on me. So yeah, let's switch.
Look, let's not sit here and lie to our viewers though and say that the NBA season has been fantastic so far.
No, it hasn't.
It certainly not.
On the subject of coaches who still have a job, what is going on in Milwaukee? We've kind of touched on it for the past 2 weeks.
It's too early to fire them.
What do you mean it's 2-8? The Milwaukee Bucks are 2-8. They're the second worst team in the NBA.
Here's what they're doing. They brought Darvin Ham in so that he can take over when Doc Rivers gets fired because he's gonna get fired.
Is that the game plan?
He has to get fired. But they have to wait for Chris Middleton to come back because he may be the Messiah. I'm playing devil's advocate because I don't think that's gonna happen.
Okay.
Especially 12 years deep into his career. I mean, I don't think that he's got that, but maybe
when does Giannis get traded is my question.
You know what I think it is? I think it's because they got rid of Thanasis.
It might be. It honestly, there could be a correlation there.
I think that is a serious
point. That honestly could have some correlation just because like he was a locker room guy. Everybody seemed to like him. And obviously having Giannis's brother on the roster is like, it's keeping the star player happy. Right, like you're not going to want to leave him. Look, the Bucks have just been a team that has an aging roster, and I think we touched on it a little bit in our NBA preview. Is the fact that like this team has made very little adjustments to the roster that they previously had, and the ones that they did make haven't made them better. You know what I mean? The loss of Drew Holiday is one that I think you regret, albeit though I think you make the Damian Lillard trade 9 times out of 10 if you're offered it.
But they don't know that. They don't know that Drew's going to Boston. That's the problem. They didn't know that we were going to flip that right around.
So like that, I don't really think you can fault them for it. But like this team has just made so few improvements, and then you fire Adrian Griffin, Adrian Griffin Sr., who had a very solid record going into the break because you thought that like you could be doing better against teams above 500, and now you're just losing every game that you play.
After it's blowing the Celtics out, they beat us by 50 with Adrian Griffin.
It's unbelievable how bad they've looked to start this season. To be fair, the best games that they have played have been against the Celtics, I think, on the 28th of October and the other night. Yeah, I mean, like they've looked solid against like good teams, but they're dropping games to the Bulls, to the Nets, to the Knicks.
Those teams have both been good this year, though. I mean, you look at the Bulls started off really good. I wouldn't say really
they're
good.
4-6.
The Bulls started off way better than they were supposed to be. The Nets have been consistently pretty fine.
Yep.
So
Both
I mean,
of those
their
teams are
points
fine.
per game
Every team in the East is fine. That's the thing right now. Is there are 3 teams in the East that have an above 500 record, and one of those teams is 5-5. That is unbelievable to me.
I mean, there
That's
really
like
is 2 teams that have an above 500 record.
Like that is an unbelievable stat. I think you put one up here that says the West is 31-11 against the East this year.
Yeah.
What happened? I mean, we already knew that the West was going to be like a deeper conference, but like we expected teams like Milwaukee, like Philadelphia, like the Pistons even to like take a leap, to take a jump, to be better. You know, the Heat were supposed to be solid. The Knicks were supposed to be better than they were last year. They've looked bad. You know, the only 2 teams in the East that have looked really good have been the Boston Celtics, who are 9-2, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have looked fantastic thus far. And we'll talk about them a little bit later. But I don't know when Doc Rivers is going to go. I think it's probably before the All-Star break. I don't think he makes it that far.
I agree. I mean, if Middleton comes back and there's nothing, I mean, I think you have to think about it now. I would make a similar argument for the 76ers. I mean, if you get Joel back,
that's
and
where
you
I was
get
going
Maxey
next.
and PG all back, and you guys still are at the bottom of the league, Nick Nurse has to go, or one of the players has to go. I mean, you have PG coming back. PG does not look like a supermax player right now. He's averaging 14 points a game without Tyrese Maxey or Embiid on the floor. You have to be doing better than that.
He looks like Tobias Harris did in a Sixers jersey for those past few years.
I was not sure if I was going to go there, but you did go there. You just replaced Tobias Harris with a more expensive Tobias Harris right now. You didn't think it could get any worse. I mean, how long does Embiid want to be there?
I seriously do think that you need to have that conversation about Nick Nurse. I think the reason that I'm holding off is just because your star player hasn't played a single game this year, which is unreal. You know, like I think the whole plan for him was to save him for the playoffs. You gotta get to the playoffs. You gotta make it there. You know, you can't.
Well, and if you save him for the playoffs, he's not going to be conditioned by the time that you ask him to play 28 games.
No, and you need a better record than you have right now. Like I think that you can't be front load. You can't be like pushing back these early games. You know, especially when teams are starting to figure it out. Because like the longer the season goes, the better teams are going to be. You know what I mean? So like you're now like putting your supermax guy in a position where he's going to have to be out of shape for at least another month, right? And like how many games are you going to win in that month? You know what I mean? Like you get that. Like that's a serious question that you have to ask.
I mean, especially now, if
76ers right now.
If you put the bulk of the workload on Maxey, then he's got he's going to get injured too. And PG's a glass house, there's no way you keep that guy healthy all season. I mean, They've got a real problem. They also have to be giving more minutes to McCain and Reggie Jackson, in my opinion. Those
McCain
are 2
looked
guys.
Good last night.
He looked great last night, but those are 2 guys that you have to work into your rotation. Even if it means pulling a guy who knows the system like Kyle Lowry out. Nick Nurse, I know you like him. He's 38. I mean, you have a guard who's doing the same thing. And
same with Kelly Oubre.
You have one that's 8 years younger. You have one that's 16 years younger. I mean, you got to figure it out.
Yeah, I think you could say the same thing for Kelly Oubre. Here's my question though about the 76ers is like, what is their ceiling? You know what I mean? Like I think coming into the season, people were like, oh, if you get Joel Embiid some help, like he'll be a championship level contending team. And you just haven't seen that production come out of a guy like PG. Like, are they expecting him to take a step?
Right? I mean, I think they're one of those teams, right? Where I mean, it's super high ceiling, super high basement. We haven't seen the 3 of them together. We've barely seen the 2 of Maxey and Paul George together.
Yep.
And I mean, the basement's really low. And last year, you didn't think it could get any lower, being a 7 seed going into the playoffs, having to get through the play-in. And this year, I mean, you look at it, and I mean, the basement is the flag, like literally flag sweepstakes.
Capture the
I think
flag.
Is their basement. Yeah, capture the flag. But I mean, their ceiling, even at 2-7 right now, their ceiling's still a 3 seed, in my opinion. So, I mean, we just really don't know, and it's a team that we won't know until the All-Star break.
I agree. They're another team that's just got to get some wins fast, and like I think if you are the Sixers, like, and the Bucks in particular, like you got to be looking at candidates to come in and fill these roles. If you're the GM, like you got to be looking at like a Sam Cassell. You got to be looking at who I would hate to see lead Boston. You know what I mean? I would hate that. But you have to be looking at these guys who have been proven. Like, look at the Cleveland Cavaliers right now, right? You add you fire JB Bickerstaff, and now your team is what, 11-0.
Yeah,
right? Like you
Kenny.
add Kenny Atkinson as your head coach, who has been
none
proven
of us,
to be
none
a
of us
very
thought
good
was
head
going
coach.
to be a good move.
I didn't think it was going to be a great one, but but he's also proven himself to be a very solid head coach. You know what I mean? He's coached for 1,000 years. It feels like.
I mean, I think
right?
that if you're one of those teams,
his longest stint though was in Atlanta when they had Joe Johnson and Al Horford and Jeff Teague, and they were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they were doing a very similar thing to what the Cleveland Cavaliers are doing right now, which is being super successful, and then maybe we get to the playoffs and we see them fade off.
He was the coach of that Nets team too that kind of surprised everyone that year.
Correct.
I think,
so like they made the correct move for their roster. So like who is that guy going to be that can manage these superstar players on the Philadelphia 76ers?
I know that he's gotten a bad rap over the last couple of years. I think you throw Frank Vogel into that conversation.
Okay.
Maybe not with the Sixers, but maybe with the Bucks. I could see him doing better. Okay. I mean, he's a candidate that comes to mind off the top of my head. Someone who's out there looking for a job. I don't know. I mean, don't know.
Yeah, like I don't know. Maybe you could go get like a Terry Stotts or obviously Sam Cassell is someone that I think is going to be in conversation. Like Mike D'Antoni's still out there somewhere. Yeah, I know. Right. So like there are people that like you could make a case for, taking over a team right now. And, I think a lot of teams are regretting the fact that they missed out on the Budenholzer sweepstakes and let him go to Phoenix.
Yeah.
And he's looked really good there. As a guy who has managed and has a repertoire of managing star players. You know what I mean? Like that is something that he is known for being able to do. And now you're looking around and you're like, who can I bring in to bolster my staff? And it seems like there aren't a lot of great candidates out there. And that's going to be a problem for a lot of these teams who are going to have to make firings if they continue to look as bad as they do.
I agree. Let's talk about some teams that look good right now.
Okay.
Basically, the entire Western Conference. I don't think we have to touch on the teams that we knew that were going to be good. Suns, Thunder. Nuggets have kind of turned it around. They've looked really good as of late. Grizzlies have looked good. Lakers, obviously every team in here looks good.
Yeah, T-Wolves, Rockets.
The team that even sticks out like a sore thumb is the Golden State Warriors. And you and I both talked about it. They have exceeded expectations to the nth degree so far this season. What do you think are some contributing factors to that being the case?
I mean, I think Steve Kerr gets a bad rap for being a coach who has been, handed a lot of all-star caliber players, but I actually do think he's really good as a head coach. I think that they replaced exactly who they were supposed to replace by losing Klay Thompson this offseason and then adding Buddy Hield, a guy who is a career above 40% three-point shooter on this team. And
he also is an Iron Man. He does not miss games. He plays every game.
Correct. And they have just completely gone all in on the fact that Steph Curry is the number 1 option on this team and we are playing small ball. You know what I mean? They have Trace Jackson Davis being their center, who's only like 6'9", right? And now you're running him behind Draymond Green. And you're running him off of guys like Jonathan Kuminga, who has looked like a pretty close to a max contract guy. You know what I mean? Like going into the season, I think
we knew that going into the season that he was going to look that way.
Like he's taken a lot of Andrew Wiggins minutes. A guy who was an all-star 3 seasons ago. You know what I mean? All-star starter 3 seasons ago. I think Kyle Anderson is an addition, is bolstering their defense. I think that was expected. You know what I mean? He's a solid off-the-bench piece. And then they're getting production from guys that you weren't expecting them to, like DeAnthony Melton.
Yeah, DeAnthony Melton's
Gary
been a
Payton,
great guard.
Moses Moody. You know what I mean? So, like, they're playing their style of basketball. And look, when Steph Curry is healthy, he is one of the most dangerous players in the NBA, but he's reestablishing himself as a top 5 player, which I don't think he was last year. And they're doing it against the best teams in the league, which is, commendable to a team that I think a lot of people were writing off coming into the season as probably being at that lower end of the Western Conference. I think they're going to cool off a little bit.
I was going to say, teams get hot. Yeah. And I think that this team is definitely one of the hottest teams in basketball, if not the hottest team in basketball. I would like to see if they continue, not necessarily at this rate, but maybe at a, 6.65 rate. You know what I mean? Like their win percentage being
Yeah.
650.
Yep.
Staying above the 500 mark, heavily, winning 6-7 out of every 10
You're
games
going to
that they
need that
play.
to
They
be a
have
top
to.
10 seed in the Western Conference, apparently.
But
like,
I also
you need to be above.
There's an element of being in the Western Conference that is like, it does not matter 1 through 8. You just have to get in. It doesn't.
Correct.
Home court advantage is not going to be a factor at all in the Western Conference.
I agree
so
with
there
that.
isn't necessarily a huge benefit to being one of the best teams in the league. You just have to get hot at the right time.
You got to get to the dance.
Yeah.
And I think the Warriors are doing a really good job of getting to the dance. Give me one player right now that's really surprised you thus far. I think that there are a couple in the NBA that have like really looked good. And some, just because of injuries probably have, looked better. But I want to know one player that's like been, standing out to you this far this season.
I don't want this to. I know that it's a big meme and a big joke and whatnot. I don't mean to have it come off that way. This is a player who did not play much at all last year, but for a 3-point shooter, his field goal percentage is pretty high, and his 3-point percentage is good enough. Grady Dick is scoring 19 points a game right now. I think he has been phenomenal for that Raptors team.
He's looked really good for them. Again, they're not good. They're the worst record in the NBA right now. I don't think Scotty Barnes has played really at all this season. I think he's been battling with injury. OG Agbaji
Barrett's been great. Yeah. Agbaji's
has been good. Like they have a lot of young pieces that have looked pretty good thus far. Obaji's gotten over 20 points a game a couple of times. A polished product coming out of Kansas. I think we kind of expected him to take the leap. But that being said, I did not expect Grady Dick to have the season that he's had thus far. And I'm excited to continue to see his production. For me, the player that's really stood out this year on a Nets team that we were kind of expecting to be pretty damn bad. Dennis Schroeder has looked really good.
He's looked great.
He's averaging 20 points a night on 48.6% field goal percentage. He's looked like a pretty solid starting guard, and I think he's always been a guy that's been solid in the NBA. But right now, in more minutes, he's looking like a very solid rotational piece. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to a contender at the deadline for something some picks. Because he's got them in good shape.
He's a great budget point guard too.
Yep, I agree. Another one, just to throw it out there, a guy that I've kind of been a truther of for a while now on the 11-0 Cleveland Cavaliers. Evan Mobley has been their X factor. He's averaging about 18 points a game, something like 9 rebounds a game. He is the piece for them that if he's shooting threes well, if he's spacing the floor for them, if he's doing everything that he can do, he's like a stretched Derek Lively. And when he gets going, that team is really, really hard to stop right now. So he's been impressive to me.
I'd like to throw out Buddy Hield. Looks like 6th man of the year right now. He's scoring 18 on 48% from 3. I just think that that's absolutely incredible. So,
and the last guy that I was alluding to, who has battled with injury for the past 2 years and is now finally coming back and finding himself in that number 1 role on the Charlotte Hornets, is LaMelo Ball. He's averaging 28 points and how many rebounds? Or 29 points and 8 assists, I think.
8 assists, yeah.
8 assists, so he has been electric for them on a team that, again, we've always kind of been like, oh, the Charlotte Hornets, they have no direction. This is the direction. You just got to keep him healthy. You know what I mean? He's clearly become the number 1 option on a team. And we were talking about it before the show started, the way that he just throws shit up, tries stuff off one leg from the corner, the way that he's playing he did at Chino Hills.
At the end of the game.
I know.
It's insane.
He's just having fun out there. And yeah, it's fun to watch when, a guy is, so talented and is putting it together at the same time. And honestly, I'm happy that the Hornets have found some sort of something that's pushing them towards being good.
Yeah. And I mean, you look at the breakdown of their roster, they're super young, but they're super fun. I mean, one of their oldest players is Miles Bridges, who, as much as we may not like him off the court, he is super fun to watch on the court.
Yeah.
And you surround LaMelo with guys like him, young Brandon Miller, who seems to be taking a step. A young Mark Williams, who seems to do everything that you could want a 5 to do as long as he's healthy. And then vets like Grant Williams, Seth Curry, Taj Gibson. This Hornets team isn't going to be great, but at least they have a direction. And that's something that Charlotte fans have been hopeful for since Kemba left.
Correct. And you have something to watch, Charlotte Hornets games for, aside from their announcer, who's always awesome. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see teams start to move in the right direction, and I think that's like something that we are looking at and saying, the Hornets, they in this weaker Eastern Conference, they could potentially sneak into the playoffs, which is pretty cool. A question that I have for the entire NBA right now, just in regards to the Rookie of the Year award, like, are we voiding it? Like, what is happening? There isn't a rookie that's averaging over 9 points a game. There isn't a rookie that's averaging over like 20 minutes a game. The only real performance I've seen from a rookie this year is like Zachary Sarche having like 30 points the other night. I think 7 for 10 from 3. Like,
I mean, if you look at it right now, I think Zach Edey's the betting favorite, and he's the only one that's getting meaningful minutes. He's the only one that's getting legitimate minutes,
and he's averaging like 8 points a game. Like,
I think he's averaging like 11 points a game.
Okay, either way, like, what happened to this draft class? Was there just nobody who was NBA ready? Like, the guys who were the odds-on favorites to be, in the conversation were guys like Stephon Castle, who's starting to put it together a little bit, Reed Shepherd, Alex Sarr, right? Like, guys have just not stepped up. Is he that bad? I haven't watched the Wizards play a single game this year. Bilal Coulibaly has been pretty impressive.
Bilal Coulibaly has been great. Alex Sarr is kind of hard to watch.
Okay.
Bilal Coulibaly is very, very fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that a lot of those guys kind of get stuck in the tragedy of the commons, right? Like, look at that Spurs team. They have most of their production comes out of their pick and roll duo, or it comes out of their, two-man action. And then besides that, you're just spacing the floor and letting the alien go to work. And if you look at Rockets, they are certainly a case of the tragedy of the commons. They have too much good, not enough time for all of them. And they are the case study as to why the NBA should expand at this time. But I just think that both those guys, they're not necessarily in bad situations. I just don't think that they were expected to necessarily come out and take that jump because there's guys on those teams who are already in those roles. Whereas you look at like a Brandon Miller or a Wemby last year, had no one's shoes to fill. They could just walk right in and be the number one option. So
yeah, like Ryan Dunn is in conversation for Rookie of the Year right now.
As he should be.
I agree. He's been a great defender, but like he's averaging like 15 minutes a game. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy that there's nobody who has the keys to their offense right now. Maybe that just does, like to what you said, like speak to the depth of the NBA. But I mean, I think this draft class is living up to the hype of it being one of the worst that we have seen in the past 10 years.
Yeah, for sure. Other than that, I mean, I think that's all we have to talk about. We'll be back again on Thursday with our typical NFL episode, and then I think we're going to do a little NBA breakdown of that as well. But until then, this has been the Corner Office, and I'm Jack Brown.
And I'm Alex Penders.
Go on 3.
Go on 3.